not what you want me doing. As you can tell, we have 14 panelists, and they each have 300 slides each, so it's going to be we have to move fast. All right. So a lot happened today. LinkedIn went public, and the price went up 109%, I think. It made Reid Hoffman a 1.7 billionaire today, something like that. Let's see what else happened. Arnold Schwarzenegger confessed to a love child with a member of his staff, but he also said that he explained that the child was destined to take down Skynet in 2031, so he wanted a little bit of credit for that. You'd have to be a geek to understand that a little bit or seen that movie. Never mind. You know, there's a lot of action in Silicon Valley, whether it be, you know, and the LinkedIn IPO sets up Facebook for really super well. There's a lot of interesting things going on in the social network space, but that stuff's not important, right? I mean, you could live without, some of you could live without Facebook, right? We could all live without Groupon or Twitter a little bit, but you can't live without electrons, you can't live without refrigerators, you can't live without hospital equipment, you can't power EVs for the EV revolution without electricity. So I think we're in a different type of, you have to frame this differently when you're talking about electricity, about power. This is really important, virtuous stuff, okay? The other thing is, when I first started looking at energy about 8 or 9 years ago, there's a bit of, and I came in from solid state lighting and IT, there's a bit of institutional arrogance when you move into energy. You expect that if you put enough software engineers in a room with enough top ramen and a foosball table, you can produce an app that will run the country, and it's just not like that. It's hard work. And there's a bit of institutional arrogance from utilities and from PUCs who don't want anything that challenges the incumbent technology. So I think that's something to keep in mind, although this is not going to be a utility bashing episode, as I've been warned. All right, so let me get on. I have a few slides that will hopefully set up, there, greentechmedia.com. Go there if you want to read about Greentech issues, and let's talk about energy storage. One of the speakers tonight is from EPRI, and this slide is stolen. Oh, this slide is stolen from EPRI. The electricity. Oh. The red is what is coal use for electricity. Yeah. Thank you. I told you the AV part of the program was not my skill. 50% of electricity in the U.S., the red part of that pie comes from coal. The yellow is 21% comes from nuclear, and that tiny little green slice is what comes from non-hydro renewables. EPRI predicts that non-hydro renewables is going to be 9% in 2030, and coal is going to be 52% by 2030, 13% of which is going to be clean coal with carbon sequestration with a technology yet undiscovered, and nuclear is going to be 29% of the picture with a financing yet undiscovered. But if we're going to meet renewable portfolio standards of 20 or 50 or 30 or 40%, and that green bar is going to have to be a lot bigger. So I've already cautioned all 14 of the panelists that they cannot use the following words when they're talking about energy storage. They can't use the term holy grail, game changer, or linchpin. And if they do, they have to take a shot of Don Julio tequila. Make sure to stop at a liquor store before I got here. So you can't use these terms because there is no holy grail of energy storage. I think that would be, I have to take a shot now that I said it. This is what causes a problem, and it's by law that you have to show this slide if you're doing a slide on energy storage. You have to show intermittent solar. And this is obviously cloud cover or thermal issues, and aside from the intermittent aspect of it, this ramp down and ramp up is enough to give any independent systems operator or utility a heart attack. And the same thing applies to wind. It's very unpredictable. And again, I warned all of the panelists that they were not allowed to show these slides, so I got this out of the way. So, question, this is the audience participation. What are the most prevalent storage technologies, energy storage?
There are two.
There are two.
Firstly, you can pump water uphill.
That's right.
Secondly, you can take a gas and you can compress it in a chamber.
There you go. So pumped hydro and CAS, which are technologies. Pumped hydro is 120. There's 120,000 megawatts of pumped hydro worldwide, and there's just a few hundred megawatts of CAS and some other electrochemicals. But the two primary ones, pumped hydro and CAS, pumping or pumping water up the hill or storing gas in a salt cavern, are technologies that were available to the Flintstones. And here we are in Silicon Valley. You should be able to find some electrochemical technologies a little bit better than that. Obviously, you can't do pumped hydro everywhere. It's geographically limited. You have to have a reservoir under and a reservoir over. Although there is a company called Isotropic Energy who says that they can get 30 gigawatts of equivalent capacity using heated gravel and some type of thermal change, but it requires you to know a couple of thermal cycles that I'm not going to talk about. It's just going to make me look silly. There's another take on pumped hydro storage. A company wants to drill an enormous hole in the ground, fill it with water, and raise and lower an enormous weight. Obviously, this is an artist's rendering. And in fact, the major employment opportunities in energy storage are in artists' renderings. So, that applies to algae farming and several other renewable sectors. So this is the growth employment opportunity. There's a number of energy storage technologies, whether they in addition to pumped hydro batteries, flow batteries. You'll hear from Primus Power tonight, and we're going to talk about flow batteries, and a number of other technologies. Here's a very, very, very small partial list of battery firms. This is a sodium sulfur battery. I think I might have that price very wrong, and John Eric, you can correct me on that. The other panelists are probably going to talk about this later, but different technologies are suitable for different types of energy storage applications, and there are a number of different energy storage applications. There's a gentleman, Ed Cazalet. He's of Megawatt Storage Farms, and he proposes that California is going to need 4 gigawatts of energy storage to meet the 33% renewable portfolio standards. My red light is flashing. David Hawkins at the Cal ISO says he can't see a way it's possible to get to 33% without significant energy storage resources on the grid. But on the other hand, Jim Detmers, also in an interview I had with him recently, he's also formerly with the CAISO, said that people are developing and funding startups in a vacuum, and some of the technology does not have the functionality that a customer or the utility or the power system actually need. So I think there's a bit of an impedance mismatch between entrepreneurs and utilities, and hopefully we can figure out a way to work that out. I wanted to give you a list of profitable utility scale energy storage companies. They're not profitable. If you look at their most recent, I made sure to check that today. And when it comes to energy, it's not just about value proposition and cost. You really have to pay attention to policy and regulatory issues. AB 2514 was a storage bill that was passed in California recently, and we can talk about that a little bit later. I'm going to leave it for later. But you also have to make sure you understand the alphabet soup of FERC, PUC, ISO, and CARB, as well as probably a number of other acronyms I left out. So I'm sorry, I've already gone over, and we do have a bunch of speakers. The speakers need to address those two questions that were posed. That's something we really want to keep coming back to, which is how crucial is energy storage, and what are the obstacles to it? So don't. This is the last tangent you need to go off on, is what you just saw. But try to keep your theme viewing to those thoughts. Okay. Here we go. So who's first?
Question.
Josh.
All right.